Welcome to Sci-Fi Stories Beyond, where we create the best HFY full sci-fi stories in the known galaxy. We explore more mature, graphic and sexualized themes and add them to our sci-fi stories. Viewer discretion is advised. Today's story follows the story is a thrilling, action-packed tale of a genetically enhanced super soldier, Zane Novaris, who uncovers a sinister conspiracy involving an insectoid alien race known as the Zythox. Overall, Insurgence is a must-listen for fans of the HFY subgenre. Will you survive until the end to earn your first Beyond badge with a secret comment to show you've got what it takes to join the Beyond Corp? Let's lock and load. The acrid stench of singed flesh and smoldering circuitry fills my nostrils as I wrench my quantum blade free from the bisected corpse of the Zythox warrior. Thick, purplish ichor oozes from the creature's bifurcated halves, the eerie glow of its bioluminescent organs already fading. Eat shit, you fucking worm, I spit, feeling a grim satisfaction. One less of these psychic parasites left to terrorize the colonies. I'm Zane Novaris, Sergeant First Class in the Onyx Reapers, Earth's classified contingent of neurologically reconditioned super soldiers. Once the most vicious criminal offenders the system had to offer, now we serve as humanity's ruthless guardians against the Zythox scourge. The mission was supposed to be a standard sweep and clear of a compromised frontier outpost on Arcturus 6. But as usual, the intel was half-assed. My HUD lights up with proximity alerts as a fresh wave of those nightmare-fueled bastards come scuttling out of the smoldering ruins. I raise my pulse rifle and paint the rubble-strewn hellscape with strobing volleys of plasma fire, reducing a handful of the horde to hissing piles of charred chitin. The rest are closing fast, skittering over the twisted wreckage on far too many arachnid limbs, gaping maws flanked by pulsing fear pheromone glands. Novaris, on your 6. The warning crackles over comms a split second before a jagged talon punches clean through my battle armor's backplate, narrowly missing my spine. White-hot agony lances through me. I lash out blindly with my quantum blade in a backhanded slash, rewarded by a gurgling shriek as the Zythox ambusher crumples, ichor-spurting stump of a neck flopping obscenely. I risk a glance over my shoulder, glimpsing the welcome sight of Corporal Rydex Voltaine storming through the breach in the compound wall, preceded by the roaring fury of his Kanini cannon. The hypersonic barrage of tungsten rounds rips through the oncoming swarm, erupting geysers of purple gore and chitin shrapnel. Cutting it a little close there, Val, I growl, ignoring the throbbing ache spreading from my new souvenir gash. Ah, walk it off, Sarge, the corporal quips, his feral grin flashing through his visor as he pivots to rack a fresh ammo cylinder into his cannon's breech. Better a few new scars than being bug chow. Together we advance into the outpost's shattered interior, quantum blades and pulse rifles spitting annihilation at every skittering shadow. The close confines reek with the acrid stench of flash-fried Zythox viscera. As we push deeper into the ravaged Hab sector, the walls peel back to reveal a nightmarish scene. A seething morass of squirming, semi-translucent Zythox feeder polyps has subsumed an entire barracks cube. Bile rises in my throat at the sight of partially digested humans entombed in membranous cocoons, their faces frozen in endless rictus howls of brain-seared agony. The polyps undulate and quiver, gorging themselves on the psychic anguish of their paralyzed victims. We torch the whole writhing mass with searing jets of plasma. The human remnants mercifully boil to ash along with the keening feeder worms. There'll be no saving those poor bastards. All we can offer now is a clean death. Wiping splattered ichor from my visor with a gore-streaked gauntlet, I notice a flicker of movement in my HUD psi-spectrum display. An anomalous energy signature bleeding through the dimensional veil, more potent than any garden-variety Zythox. Voltaine, got a Psylocke on a big one. I snap, triangulating the signature's source. Could be a Hive guard, or worse. Moving to intercept. I plunge down a lightless access shaft, pulse rifle's muzzle flare etching epileptic fractal patterns in the lingering gun smoke. Vaulting out into a cavernous storage vault, I find myself facing a towering insectoid monstrosity. Obsidian carapace sheathing pulsating biomorphic circuitry, compound eyes blazing with malign intelligence. Psychic force lashes at my mind, seeking chinks in my indomitable mental armor, but the Reaper's conditioning holds strong. The Zythox overlord rears to its full 3-meter height, venom-dripping mandibles clacking, swollen parapsionic glands throbbing like obscene tumors along its flanks. A voice like scissored silk on raw nerves echoes inside my skull. It sounds like a fucking hellish snarl. I lunge to engage, quantum blade carving a savage arc beamed on the creature's center mass. But the monster's psionic onslaught redoubles, a ghostly vice clamping around my brain. My blade skitters off the overlord's chitin mere centimeters from a killing stroke. Dazed, I barely raise my pulse rifle in time to deflect a scythe-like foreclaw swipe that would have torn my head clean off. I lose my grip on the weapon as it goes clattering away. Power cell ruptured. as if through a shimmering veil of heat waves. I see memory fragments projected rapid fire across my mind's eye. A trial before stony-faced jurists, the sneering warden of a cryo prison, masked surgeons making the final alterations to ensure my obedience. Lies within lies, all crumbling. Get out of my head, I scream through gritted teeth, mental levees shuddering against a tsunami of psychic violation. The Zythox's mocking laughter reverberates in my very marrow, with the dregs of my self-identity eroding, my psyche flaying away like fistfuls of torn silk. I do the unthinkable. I stop resisting. I open the mental floodgates and embrace the roaring maelstrom. There's a timeless instant of merciful nullness, then searing fucking pain. It fills the universe. The spaces between atoms, the lacunae of my splintering consciousness, become the pain. It is fuel, an incandescent star of purest agony empowering my broken mind, body, and soul. I let it flow into my nerves, my sinews, filling me with the blistering wrath of 1,000 murdered worlds. My quantum blade flares like a newborn sun, slicing through chitin, ichor-slick biocircuitry, and side-charged ether alike as I leap onto the Overlord's back. I ride the behemoth as it thunders and thrashes, my blade opening jagged canyons across its exoskeletal armor. The monster's psionic might beats against my psyche, titanic hammer blows threatening to smash my beleaguered persona to pulp. But as the killing blow falls, my higher brain functions shut down. Blissful numbness consumes me, the eye of the storm. I stand outside myself, a mind projection in the roiling mindscape. Zane Novaris, the Onyx Reaper, the convicted war criminal, the neurologically bridled attack dog, is no more. Even as my limp body tumbles from the Overlord's back and crumples to the gore-smeared floor, I perceive a higher truth. The black scales fall from my mind's eye, and I see them, an infinitude of radiant, gossamer threads binding all life across space, time, and consciousness. Reality's fundamental interconnectivity laid bare in one blinding moment of transcendent clarity. I seize upon a cord woven from my own anima and manifested in the mindscape as a crackling lash of psychokinetic plasma. With a roar of vindication, I whip it around the Zythox Psi-form's neck and yank savagely. The Overlord's psyche explodes in a geyser of shrieking, fractured thought stuff. In the physical, the creature's headless corpse crashes to the deck, ruptured cephalic sacs gouting ichor from its cloven cervical stump. I stagger to my feet, shaking, reborn, weaponized empathy burning in my mind like an azure star. This changes everything. If I could tap into the underlying anima field that pervades the cosmos, attuning to the vital essence of other entities, I'll be able to sense the Zythox, perhaps even preempt their predations. But there are so many questions. That fragmented memory vision the Zythox forced upon me before it died. Was it revealing some ugly truth about my origins that Earth's authorities have suppressed? Have I just been a pawn in a larger deception all along? I can't trust anyone, especially not my Onyx Reaper handlers. Going forward, I'll have to play my cards very close to the chest, find others who share my suspicions, gather proof of any conspiracy before I show my hand. My name is Zane Novaris. I've gazed into the abyss and had it gaze back, and nothing will ever be the same. But if there are secrets festering in the shadows, I won't stop until I drag them kicking and screaming into the light. The bone-jarring impact of our drop shuttle hitting the launch bay deck of the Reaper's orbital command platform jolts me out of my haunted reverie. Ever since that mindfuck of a mission on Arcturus 6, I haven't been able to shake the feeling that I'm neck-deep in a black swamp of ugly hidden truths. As the drop ramp hisses open, I'm greeted by the stern, chiseled features of Commander Zoran Halistron waiting at the bottom. Even without the newly awakened empathic abilities singing in my nerves, I can tell from his tight jaw and flinty gaze that he's not here for a friendly debrief. Novaris, a word in private. He clips out, turning on his heel towards the command spire without waiting for a response. I share a wary glance with Voltaine before squaring my shoulders and striding after our illustrious leader. As the lift capsule carries us up the spire, Halistron fixes me with a piercing stare. Your performance on Arcturus 6 was inconsistent, Reaper. The psi scans from your battle harness showed anomalous spikes, and the camera feeds cut out at a critical juncture. Care to explain? My gut clenches. They must suspect something, but I can't let on what really happened during my psychic tit-for-tat with that Zythox overlord. Time to tap into that stone-cold killer persona I wore so comfortably before. Elaborate psionic attack from the primary target caused localized systems disruption. I reply, the lie rolling smoothly off my tongue. Had to improvise, but I managed to put that overgrown roach down hard. Is there a problem, sir? Halistron's eyes narrow fractionally. The problem, Novaris, is that command is questioning your reliability. They feel your mental conditioning may be degrading. Report to MedLab Sigma for a full psychological reevaluation and synaptic reset, effective immediately. I feel like I've taken a pulse rifle stock to the temple. They're not buying it. The ivory tower pricks want to crack open my skull and peel back the layers. See if all their little mental rewrite subroutines are still singing in perfect harmony. And I bet my last platinum chit that if they don't like what they find, it's express lift to the incinerator for this old dog. With respect, Commander, I grit out through clenched teeth. I'm the one who aced that hive guard. If my psych profile was glitching, I'd be a drooling vegetable right now. I don't need a bunch of lab coats poking around in my gray matter. The lift arrives at the command deck with a soft chime. The doors whooshing open. Alistair steps out and turns to face me, his expression carved from frigid granite. Let me make this crystal fucking clear. Sergeant, he says softly, bitingly, you are a weapon, a tool. You do not make demands. You do not get a choice. You will report for evaluation and reconditioning, or you will be neutralized with extreme prejudice. Am I understood? I meet his gaze, my own expression a perfect match for his wintry countenance, while inside I'm a seething tumult of fury, disgust, and cold dread. In that frozen moment, I realize I've never truly hated someone with the intensity one hates Zoran Halistrid. He's a willing cog in this whole dehumanizing meat grinder, selling out his own species for the illusion of control. Understood. Sir, I finally respond, the honorific dripping with venomous irony. As the lift doors close between us and I begin my descent into the humming bowels of the platform, one thing becomes knife-edge clear. I can't stay here. The entire Reaper program is rotten from the inside out, and I'll be lobotomized or permanently retired if I don't act fast. I need to find Voltaine, see if he'll have my back on this. Beyond that, I require access to sensitive data that could shed light on my fragmented memories and validate the Zythox Overlord's ominous claims. If there really is a conspiracy in play, I have to assume it goes all the way up to top brass. I'll be on my own. The lift touches down and I stride out into the bustling main barracks hall. The beginnings of a desperate plan starting to crystallize with cold, ruthless clarity. I'll bide my time, play along with the psyche valve. Then when the moment is right, I'm going to tear this whole festering edifice down around their ears and build a pyre of the rubble. It's not just about my personal freedom anymore. If there are puppet masters behind the curtain, I won't rest until I've dragged them out into the light and made them answer for every transgression. Because if there's one thing I've learned in this blood-drenched shadow war, it's that fear is the ultimate weapon. And it's high time Earth's self-appointed guardians remembered what it feels like to be afraid. My name is Zane Novaris, and I'm done being anyone's goddamned attack dog. The real hunt begins now. The sterile, harshly lit confines of MedLab Sigma close and around me like a coffin as I lie strapped to the neural interface slab. A dozen different flavors of biometric sensors and stim injectors bristling from my skin. The hum of the quantum imager boring into my psyche fills my skull, setting my teeth on edge. Psi-pattern degradation confirmed in sectors 7G through 12K. One of the lab-coated vultures mutters from behind a monitor bank. Initiate reconditioning protocol Omega 5. I've been putting up a good show, letting them think their little brainwashing tune-up is going smoothly. But beneath the surface, I'm a clenched fist of coiled rage and steely focus. They want to rewire me? Two can play at that game. As the imager beam bores deeper, I open the mental aperture of my newly awakened psionic reserves and plunge into the machine's crackling data flow, releasing a self-replicating personality engram coated with a nasty logic bomb. It's the same sleight of neurological hand those Zythox high rollers tried to pull on me. The imager's containment field flickers wildly as the malware I just skull-fucked into its OS starts running amok, subverting its baseline parameters. I catch a glimpse of confusion and dawning horror on the head researcher's weaselly face before the entire apparatus detonates in a cascade of arcing, secondary explosions. Chaos erupts, shrieking alarms, panicked shouting, the staccato snap of electrical fires. I'm off the slab in a flash, ghosting through the smoke and snatching a vibro knife from the nearest researcher's flailing grasp. By the time the lab coats regain enough composure to trigger the security lockdown, I've already slashed and bludgeoned my way to the exit. I bust out into the main corridor beyond, startling the piss out of a fire response bot as it trundles past. I catch a glimpse of my reflection in its mirrored chassis, gore-splattered, wild-eyed, wearing nothing but shredded patient scrubs and a feral sneer. I look like 10 kilometers of bad road. First things first, I need to hook up with Voltaine, pray to whatever cold void gods are listening that he hasn't been brainwashed into lockstep obedience like the rest of these walking meat drones. I vault up a maintenance ladder to the barracks deck, shoulder charging through a security partition and bowling over the two grunts standing sentry on the far side. They barely have time to shriek before I'm on them. A windpipe crushed, a carotid slashed, two more bitches for the Reaper. I yank one of the cooling corpses into an alcove, stripping its combat armor with brutal efficiency and cladding myself in the segmented obsidian plate mail. Pulse rifle in my hands, a bandolier of fragellets slung across my chest. I feel the old murder machine clarity descending. I ghost through the corridors, keeping to shadowed corners, brutally ambushing the scattered patrols as they scramble to respond to the med-lab chaos. The Reaper conditioning they've drilled into me works in my favor now. I move swiftly, fluidly, each motion ruthlessly economical. Minimal time, minimal exposure. Finally, I stack up outside Voltaine's private quarters, my heart pounding against my ribs. Moment of truth. If he's not on board, I'll have to drop him just like the others. I take a steadying breath, slot an ion breacher canister into my rifle's muzzle and kick the door in with a splintering crash. I'm greeted by the singing muzzle flare of Voltaine's own rifle as he puts a burst of flechettes through the doorframe mere centimeters from my face. Then I hear his gruff, confusion-roughened voice. Sarge? What in the ever-loving fuck is going on? I duck into the room, slamming the door shut behind me. We're neck-deep in spook shit. Val Command's been sandbagging us from the start. The Zythox have sci-hacked their way into the top echelons. We're all just fucking pawns on the board. I see my own dawning dread and cold fury mirrored in Voltaine's wide eyes as the implications sink in. To his credit, he doesn't try to deny it or look for the comforting lie. Just lets the brutal truth wash over him and hardens his gaze into a gray flint stare. If those many-legged fucks have been calling the shots this whole time, he growls, each word tight with barely leashed wrath. Then as far as I'm concerned, every human asshole who helped them carve us up into obedient little kill drones is just as guilty. I feel something unclench inside me, a breath I didn't know I'd been holding rattling free. I'm not alone in this burning crusade. At least one other poor bastard glimpsed the abattoir behind the curtain. When the Zythox overlord cracked open my brain box, I tell him grimly, I saw glimpses of the truth. False flag attacks on our own colonies to keep us scared and angry. Psionic compulsions warming into the minds of fleet officers and government officials, making them dance to the bug's tune. It's ugly, and it goes deep. Voltaine snarls, a low, gut-churning sound like a repurposed murder machine waking up to its own autonomy. Then let's rip it out by the fucking roots. I give him a tight, knowing nod. The Brotherhood of the Damned, those who've gazed into the abyss and had it gaze back. Amen to that. Grab your gear and get your game face on. I cracked the mid-lab imager and must have left half the security force leaking on the decks. They'll be on us like stink on shit any minute now. We quickly rig a perimeter of kinetic mines and distortion field generators at key thoroughfares, intending to stall any concerted counterattack long enough to reach the hangar deck. If we can commandeer a Raptor assault shuttle, punch through the command platform's defenses and reach groundside, then maybe, just maybe, we can link up with other Reaper assets who've slipped their mental leash. As we advance in knitted tactical formation through billowing couriers of cordite and flash-fried viscera, cutting down the piecemeal resistance thrown against us by our former masters, I feel something coiling beneath my rage. A strange, aching sorrow for the lost and deliberately broken creatures we've become. Repurposed flesh and synapse killing machines, reforged in betrayal and spat upon by our makers. If there are others out there like us, we'll find them, form the core of a resistance movement to cast the stark light of exposure on this shadow war of lies and deceit perpetrated against our species. This rot infesting the heart of our civilization. As we breach the final security cordon and storm the hangar deck, pulse rifles chattering, munitions detonating in rippling cascades, I embrace that cold flame in my core. We were made into monsters to defend humanity. It's only fitting that we should wear that monstrosity as armor, a cruel and vicious weapon to turn back on our former puppeteers. My name is Zane Novaris, and I am so much more than any label they forced upon me. Criminal, murderer, Onyx Reaper, living weapon. I'm the vengeance of the voiceless, the reckoning of the discarded. And as Voltaine and I careen out of that steel abattoir in our stolen Raptor, I let that vengeful fire fill my veins with purpose. I'll gather the lost and the damned, all those twisted reflections of humanity's darkest sins, and together we'll plunge into the heart of this septic maze. We'll cut away the diseased organs of the body politic, salt the earth where the institutionalized cruelty and deceit once took root. Not as Onyx Reapers. Something new, something more. Insurgents, liberators, instruments of the revelation. And God's help any soulless motherless fuck who tries to stand in our way. The fetid, labyrinthine tunnels of the Undercity stretch out before us like the twisted guts of some great, Duocretan plasteel beast. Down here, in the sunless cracks threaded between the towering Hive Spires and great manufacturing domes of New Carthage, the only law is tooth and claw, blade and bullet. It's been 6 months since Voltaine and I clawed our way out of that flying slaughterhouse of lies and carved our bloody path to groundside. 6 months of skulking in the shadows, trading out our Onyx Reaper blackplate for scavenged ghetto armor, making contact with the dregs and malcontents and others like us. They trickle in from bolt holes and distant battlefields. Deserters, renegades, even a few honorable discharges who still have enough of a mind of their own to smell the stench wafting off the official narrative. All products of the same neurological meat grinder, repurposed and edge-honed for wet work and clandestine savagery. Now we've got ourselves a regular little army of the damned, a brotherhood and sisterhood of the betrayed. The elites wanted a pack of rabid war beasts to throw at their enemies. Well, now the dogs are off the leash, and we're coming for our pound of fucking flesh. Tonight's target is a data hub buried under the glassy plates of Hive Spire Araxis. Intel siphoned from the com chatter of some freshly bled SEC Force goons points to it being a major clearinghouse for all the comings and goings between New Carthage's glitterati and their Zythox puppet masters. Troop deployments, supply chains, psi-active test subjects. If we can tap that vein, our little insurgency might finally have the juice to start peeling back the curtain. I huddle with Voltaine and a few other hard-bitten operators around a battered holodable, the ghostly blue composite of Hive Araxis' lower levels wreathed in the ever-present fog of cooking fires, stale sweat and gun oil. Alright shitbirds, listen up, I growl, running a blunt fingertip along our approach vector. This data shrine's locked up tighter than a consulate bank vault. Gene-keyed security, psionic dampers, the works. We'll need to snake a fiber optic relay in through the subducts to spoof the lockout. A grizzled, one-eyed slab of battle-scarred meat named Rexon Volt chuffs the cynical laugh. Right, because those greasy McArachnid fucks haven't caught onto that little trick already. We'd be pinned like flesh bugs in a specimen case before we made 10 meters. That's why you'll be on Overwatch with a Dynacell rail rifle. I shoot back, feeling my lips peel away from teeth that have been bared in fury and rictus grins for far too long now. Punch a few craters in their security picket, give our infiltration team some breathing room, and if they decide to flood the ducts with nerve agents or send in the Razor drones. This from Naja Cree, a slip of a woman with murder glinting in her cybernetically enhanced eyes. Reaper or no, you don't end up this deep in the muck without some hard questions needing answering. I straighten from the holodable, letting my gaze rove across each of them, my brothers and sisters in blood and betrayal. Then we torch the place and carry our asses out in a blaze of glory. But one way or another, we're cracking that data vault. Might be our only shot at unraveling just how long these chitinous sadists have had their feeding tendrils up humanity's ass down low. Feral growl of assent ripples through the room. In the end, we're all dead anyway. Each of us slated for the incinerator or the nerve staple the moment our master's cost-benefit sims tipped out of the black. Might as well make our deaths count for something more than a rapidly cooling smear of gore and shit in some forgotten alley. As we gear up and move out, slipping through the damp and clinging shadows like the big cats of old Earth's vanished jungles, I feel that familiar cold flame kindle in my belly. The eager, predatory yearning for the fight, for the alchemy of blood and fire and screaming metal. But beneath it, something else, a seed of, what, precisely hope? The promise of vindication, of dragging the puppet masters and their chittering insectoid overlords into the light that they might shrivel and burn? The chance to be more than a repurposed, broken thing, to remake myself in the white heat of insurgent purpose. All I know is that tonight, one way or another, the signal flare of our resistance gets lit. Let the elites and their cowed masses huddle in willful ignorance while the Zythox's hooks settle ever deeper into their minds. Let the bug lords swell with stolen life on a banquet of adrenal terror. Down here, in the muck and filth with the rest of the damned, we'll sharpen our claws on their ossified control structures. We'll turn this rotting underbelly into a guerrilla war zone that'll give their hive guardians nightmares. Because if there's one thing I've learned wading through the carnage and madness of this puppet show shadow war, it's that the only way to kill a monster is to make a bigger monster. My name is Zane Novaris, and tonight the insurgency claims its first scalp. The air shimmers with heat haze and the ozone tang of expended munitions as I prowl through the blasted rubble of what used to be the central data shrine of Hive Spire Araxis. Smoke curls lazily from the twisted wreckage of security drones, the shattered plasteel carapaces of the Zythox shock troopers who tried to deny us our prize. But not today. Today the bug lords pay tithes in Icor and shattered chitin. I find Voltaine hunched over a still-functioning data terminal, his fingers flying across the haptic keys as he sifts the wealth of forbidden knowledge for that one key fragment that will blow this whole conspiracy wide open. His face, bathed in the sickly green glow of the holodisplay, is drawn and haggard, but alight with a manic intensity one know all too well. Tell me you've got something, Val. I rasp, my voice roughened by cordite fumes and the battle fugue still thrumming through my veins. Tell me this wasn't all for nothing. He looks up, a feverish glint in his eyes, and I feel my heartbeat quicken. More than something, Sarge. The whole fucking jackpot. Zythox communicates. High command intel briefings. Even fragments of some kind of psionic resonance map. A hologram flickers to life above the projector table, a slowly rotating simulacrum of our sector of the galaxy. But interwoven with the familiar constellations and astrocartographical data are shimmering tendrils of sickly green light, pulsing and writhing like the circulatory system of some vast, malignant entity. What in the ever-loving fuck? I breathe, unable to tear my gaze away from the obscene beauty of it. Near as I can figure, Voltaine says grimly, the Zythox have been cultivating hive worlds on every rock in the sector with even a hint of psionic potential, funneling the fear and madness of those poor bastards caught in the conflict between us and them into some kind of resonance network. I feel the bile rise in my throat as the final puzzle piece slots into place with a sickening click. They've been farming us. I spit, my hands clenching into fists of impotent rage, stoking the fires of war to generate a banquet of psionic anguish they can glutton themselves on. And our illustrious leaders fell for it. Voltaine's face twists into an expression of weary disgust. Hook, line, and fucking sinker. The Zythox have been calling the shots on both sides, herding us like cattle to the slaughter. Clarity washes through me like a cold tide, crystallizing my hate and fury into a diamond-hard sense of purpose. All this needless suffering, all those lives thrown into the meat grinder of this false war. It ends now. It ends with us. No more, I growl, the words tasting like a blood oath on my tongue. This ends today. We take this intel to every pirate broadcast station and data haven from here to the Epsilon Eridani terminus. Shine the light of truth into every festering corner of this godforsaken sector until there's nowhere left for those puppet-dancing shitheels to hide. Voltaine grins, a feral slash of teeth in the gloom. And then we take the fight to the Zythox themselves. Yes, let our masters cower in the ruins of their empire of lies. We'll show the bug lords what it means to reap the whirlwind. We'll bring this war to their chidness doorstep, and we won't stop until every last one of their foul nests is slagged to molten glass. The others are gathering now, slipping out of the shadows with murder in their eyes and the acrid stench of expended munitions clinging to their gear. Each of them a survivor, a renegade, the last and misbegotten sons and daughters of a civilization too blind or too stupid to see the sickness metastasizing at its core. We got the motherlode, Sarge, Brexon Vol rasps, wiping gore-slick hands on his pitted battle plate. Please tell me it was worth it. Worth every damn drop of blood and sweat. I confirm, feeling a grim smile tug at the corners of my mouth. We're going to blow the lid off this whole stinking conspiracy. Tear it out by the roots and cauterize the wound with pulse fire and plasma. I see the savage, exultant grins blooming on the faces of these beautiful, broken monsters who've become my redemption and my family. The last true believers in a galaxy gone mad. The next few hours are a blur of frantic activity as we slice the data cache into 100 encrypted shards and blast them out into the darknet relays and rebel infonets we've cultivated over these blood-soaked months. There will be no containing this, no bottling the gin of disclosure now that it's loosed from its digital prison. As the last data shard wings its way through the ether, I feel a strange sense of, not peace, but grim inevitability settle over me. This is the calm before the storm, the held breath before the plunge. Everything changes tomorrow. There will be chaos, and fury, and a reckoning centuries in the making, and we'll be the ones to bring it crashing down on the heads of every smug, entitled fuck who thought they could leash the dogs of war without getting bit. My name is Zane Novaris, Onyx Reaper, Insurgent, the promise of retribution with a gun in his hand and a lifetime's worth of rage in his heart. But now, perhaps, something more. Now, as the veil of lies falls away and the true face of the enemy is finally glimpsed in all its squirming, malevolent hideousness. Now I am a bringer of revelation, a light bearer in the darkness, and if I have to burn in the radiant heat of that truth to see it kindled in the hearts of every sentient in this betrayed and befouled galaxy, then it will be a worthy pyre. We were made into monsters to serve the whims of fools and deceivers. We will reforge ourselves into the blades that sever the strings by which we were made to dance. And God's fuck any Zythox or Commissar who tries to stop us. Ours is the fury. Ours is the revelation. And let the white furs of insurgents scour this cosmos clean. If you like this Sci-Fi Beyond story and made it to the end comment badge 88 in the comments for your first promotion in the Beyond Corp. If you want further continuations of this story, please share and comment with intent. Also subscribe. Smash the thumbs up button to tell the algorithm to suck